What's up, folks? This is Acid Root, so I'm going to talk to you guys about Post Malone's debut album, Stoney. Now, this was a large project, and particularly the thing about it was that Post Malone, uh, the promotion for this project took a lot of time. It basically took a year and a half from when he dropped initially White Iverson. Like, I think that song came out on SoundCloud and then was an official single later that year. But between like the first half of 2015 to the very last month of 2016 was how long like the whirlwind of Post Malone continued to happen before we actually got a full-fledged project. Now, he did put out the August 26th mixtape, which I reviewed already. I reviewed that back in January. You can find that. But it didn't have White Iverson on there, didn't have Too Young, didn't have Go Flex, basically had none of the singles, was basically a standalone project, and I'm not even sure if it had singles that were released on August 26th. But it still was a stellar project. I definitely recommend downloading that for some free Post Malone. And a lot of that passes for like decent kind of travel music. Like earlier this year in a spare vlog, I kind of said that Post Malone's Stoney was kind of Walmart music, and I still kind of think that it happens. I mean, I find it to be more polished. It's not just Walmart everyday kind of thing, but it's kind of like if you're just trying to pick up like a bottle of Hypnotic or Hennessy or something like that, and you know you're going to get the red cups and the ping pong balls and all that sort of stuff, is definitely good music for getting ready to get set up for that sort of thing. But I feel like the more everyday life would be August 26th for that sort of stuff. If you don't really have some shit going, they're both Walmart music. I feel like August 26th and Stoney kind of are. But I mean, obviously, Stoney has a lot of other feels. It can be lit. It does have some polish to it and some thumbs up moments, but we'll kind of get to that sort of thing. But so to talk about some of the singles off this project, there were six plus two promotional songs that came out with it. That's a total of 8 songs that wound up getting a lot of promotion from this project. So, I mean, obviously, for me to be able to say something like that, I mean, Post Malone typically has like a massive kind of promotion about himself with each of his albums. I mean, all three of them, plus, I mean, everything but the mixtape had like some sort of mass appeal attached to it. And that's just kind of the thing there. But so we'll talk about these. So the first one was White Iverson. I think this is one of the first songs that he kind of put out. And it's real somber, kind of reminds me of Too Young. The initial songs that he dropped were both kind of mellow, and they just feel like so hazy and real kind of almost Beatles like, the way that they would do like these kind of dissonant and just detached kind of songs. It's and that proves that Post Malone is a musician, just for the ability to kind of not really have an approach, but to still be able to kind of make a hit out of thin air like that. Obviously there's tons of things that great musicians, but that's a good one right there. And then Too Young was kind of like an ode to like the fallen and not wanting to die too soon and that sort of thing. So that's good to kind of get that out, especially on his first album, to be saying that. Um, both of which, just to kind of sum those up both at once, they both have like that kind of like, I suppose you could cruise a little bit more to White Iverson, but they're just so, like I said, detached. So it's kind of, they're not club songs like Rockstar, and they're not really songs for ladies like Psycho, and they're not just kind of relationship songs almost like Better Now. So it's kind of the thing. I mean, they work for songs, but they're not the typical fanfare for that, and they're not really get lit or turn up songs either. Go Flex is probably the most. That one feels like that's the most likely to kind of get to radio and such. I don't really remember hearing too many songs from Stoney on my local radio, but I think this one has crossover appeal, and it kind of has like guitar on there. it's nice. I mean, it's not my favorite of the singles, but it's good. I mean, I understand how it was released as a single, and yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Post Malone is the initial idea of him trying to put out songs to release to radio. These were some of the attitudes that he was trying to go by. So a lot of this project kind of feels like still wet behind the ears, kind of finding himself and kind of deciding what to do, but it's not as cocoon like as you may think. I mean, he has developed sound. It's just a question of not the rock star and better now type sound that you hear from him nowadays. And Deja Vu has Justin Bieber on there. That one sounds a lot like Hotline Bling by Drake. And it's a peppier single, kind of reminds me of like a work song. I think both Justin Bieber and him probably had that in mind, at least somewhat in mind. But yeah, it's this feels. I mean, the thing about Post Malone is it's not just all get crunk, get drunk, that sort of stuff. I mean, it's called Stoney, but the fact that it kind of weaves some of these other things into everyday life in there, and I feel like Deja Vu, which is another song. I mean, the thing about this album is just the fact that there's not really, besides Congratulations, a song aimed for cruising out in your vehicle and getting ready to go out to the club or something. So that's kind of the fact that it took him all the way to the fifth single to finally decide to do that says that, he had some sort of direction that he was aiming for. But it is good. I mean, both Justin Bieber and Post Malone are singers and they handle it well. So, but then Congratulations, that one was the single I liked best. Uh, it's basically almost like a miniature version of Rockstar. I mean, it has a stellar hook. Quavo's on the song from Migos, and it really does feel like a song. It's kind of like Wow, which is off of Hollywood's Bleeding. It's kind of like that, just that sort of vibes. But then there was a single that came out when he was in the promotion for Beer Bongs and Bentleys, which one of his fans filmed like a concert of his, and it wound up convincing them to release I Fall Apart as a single, which is what the footage was from. I didn't have a taste for this song, but I'm glad that it got further promotion. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think honestly, just the fact that it wasn't intended to be a single, but it eventually became one. That's kind of the thing, is just seeing how it is. I mean, to me, it felt like just an album cut that wound up having the single approach. So it's like, hey, it's good to hear another song from Post Malone on the radio, but it's obvious. The thing about it is it felt very customized just because it didn't have those intentions at the start. So, but so the two promotional singles were Patient and Leave, and I appreciated the song Patient. That fits right in with the regular singles, and it's another song kind of just like Deja Vu and somewhat Go Flex. So that type vibes there. And then Leave was like a real original song. I didn't enjoy that one, but it has like, it kind of felt thrilling and dramatic, which is a nice tone for Post Malone, but I wasn't digging it as much. So, but yeah, that's all 8 of the songs. I mean, obviously, if you can't find something within those 8 songs that he released the radio to like, I mean that's very selective, it would seem. But I remember like the needle drop kind of saying that he did not enjoy this project, and I enjoy this project more than to say it's a piece of crap or it's bunk, but it's not a classic. And that's the thing. Even with 6 singles, even with 8 singles, probably even with 10 singles, I mean, you got to understand that with the deluxe edition, there is a lot of stuff on this project that is put to shame just by the songs that were just released to radio. And it's one of those albums, kind of like was released in the 90s, that just does not have the album cuts to back it up. I mean, the singles are fantastic, and there are a bunch of them, but other things besides that do not hold up that well. And like, I feel like Cold, No Option, some of these, Yours Truly, Austin Post, a lot of these hit this hard. Um, I don't know. It's difficult to kind of. I mean, I felt Beer Bongs and Bentleys better because some of those it felt as if Post Malone had the execution down better, and for me to describe that better, a lot of these songs they don't. I mean, the thing about Post Malone is he does not pick good production too often. He kind of relies more on his singing to kind of get the job done, and that works with songs like White Iverson and Congratulations, where it has something that kind of makes the wooziness factor of the album kind of go hand in hand. But when it doesn't have that, it kind of drags it a bit because if it doesn't have good production, it kind of makes the album less interesting. And obviously, if Post Malone has to pick up the pace twice as much with the singing to make up for the lack of interest in the production, it doesn't work. So obviously, a singer has to have something contemporary to kind of make that work. But the kind of druggy feel that doesn't always feel druggy, it just kind of feels like background music, something that you would hear at Walmart. Only the fact of the matter is you're really trying to say, well, I'd rather go find some apples and oranges more so than paying attention to what music's on. That's kind of the thing. I mean, it just does not. It's not distinct. I mean, it's more distinct on Beer Bongs and Bentleys. And then I also felt like August 26th, he knocked that one out of the park too, just because there's a lot of crunchy and contemporary songs on there. It felt like, that was his initial project. He had to try to prove and show what he was worth, but it feels rather lazy. And I mean, the singing was not quite as developed as it needed to be. I mean, he definitely got it developed for Beer Bongs and Bentleys, but some of this kind of feels like background music. That's the best word to describe it, is just mostly background music. The singles, when you hear them, I mean, it can be like for a good Spotify playlist, for study music, for sleep music, for that sort of stuff, but it doesn't have the initiation of trying to say, like, this is something that needs to be like on a mixtape, or this is something that needs to be played in clubs, or this needs to be played around my friends. Besides the singles, there's really not much on this project that can do that. And that's kind of where I came with it from that sort of angle, but I could not simply find much to enjoy on this project beyond that. I mean, once again, with all the promotion that this project received, you'd think, well, 6 singles, that's really all you need, but there's just not much else in lieu besides that. So I'm gonna give you the songs I recommended now. So out of 18 songs, I wound up enjoying 7 of them, and I'll tell you which ones they are. So here we go. Congratulations, White Iverson, Deja Vu, Too Young, Patient, Go Flex, and Money Made Me Do It. So Money Made Me Do It. If you don't want to buy the deluxe of Stoney, that's basically also on his August 26th mixtape. So I would just get that there because the rest of the bonus tracks are really not that stellar. I mean, if you have a taste for Leave, but so yeah, I mean, basically all the singles. I mean, that's the thing. Every one of the singles it shows a taste of what Post Malone can do, what to expect from him. His diverse topic matter. That's one thing I can't complain about with Post Malone on this album, is he's always had a nice palette in terms of what he wants to talk about, and that's something. Go Flex, Too Young, Deja Vu, White Iverson, Congratulations. He's not a boring person when it comes to songwriting, and I'm glad for that. I mean, that's something that's going to perk up this project, but this is the fact that the rest of the album, besides the singles, it just depends. I mean, if you're looking at it from a standpoint like you don't care about things beyond the singles, then yeah, this is a worthwhile purchase, but it's not a complete album. That's the thing about it. And I felt like Beer Bongs and Bentleys was a more complete project. And then also August 26th is simply a good download in general. So those are better than this one. So I'm going to give this album, because I like 7 out of 18. It's either 6 out of 14 that I liked because Money Made Me Do It's not on the regular edition, or it's 7 out of 18. So I'm just going to give this like a 4.5. 7 out of 18 is a little bit less than half the project. I felt like, me not liking 11 songs kind of speaks like, I shouldn't be giving this a 6 or a 7 when over half the album I'm not liking. So 4.5 out of 10. Once again, Beer Bongs and Bentleys is better. And the social score I'll give like a 10 though, just because it had the promotion down. The singles were outstanding. I mean, even the fact that one of Post Malone's fans sat there and got a song to be promoted to a single, that shows. And then on top of that, the fact of how well that was received. So the promotion for it was outstanding. He has a large name for himself. He's a household name at this point, Post Malone. So that's kind of the thing about it. So the promotion is obviously there. So that gets a 10, the social score, which means how well it plays around your friends as far as trying to introduce to them some new stuff. So, but yeah, so 10 social, but 4.5 regular score.